take a breath, because there's one small detail today nobody saw coming, and it could shape the direction of next season in Los Angeles. One quote out of the locker room turned into fuel. A behind-the-scenes decision could redefine this offense. A promise from the top has the Bolt fam split, and one name is getting tied to a list no one even wants to read. You know what stings most about that 16-3 loss in Foxborough? It isn't just the scoreboard. It's that sinking feeling like you've watched this exact movie before. You look up and the offense never really arrives. And the second you think, all right, maybe we're settling in, something cracks. Protection gives way. A route doesn't win. Pressure shows up before the read is even finished. The drive is dead. Then the question you try to swallow comes right back up. How does a team with Justin Herbert look this stuck when the moment gets tight? Because on the other side of the ball, Jesse Minter's defense emptied the tank. Derwin James was everywhere. Tuli Tuipulotu fought for every snap. Diane Henley did whatever he could to clean things up, and that group held New England to 16 points. That's the formula. That's how you give yourself a real shot in January. But the offense felt a beat late all night. No rhythm, no counterpunch, no answers. Herbert finished with 159 yards, took 6 sacks. Got hit over and over, and the ball hit the ground in the kind of moments that erase momentum. Let me say this. If you're still here with me, you care. So do me a favor. Hit like if you're riding with the powder blue. Subscribe if you want daily Chargers talk, and get your first reaction into the comments. Was this a coaching failure, a roster failure, or was it both at once? Now we get to the part nobody enjoys. Greg Roman. In the regular season, you can live with respectable. Harbaugh wants control. He wants physical football. He wants the run game to matter. But in the playoffs, when an opponent takes away what you want to do first and forces you to answer fast, the play calling has to lift your quarterback, not tighten the rope around him. Sunday felt predictable. It felt like an approach that didn't get Herbert into clean, confident situations. And it didn't have enough variety to punish what New England was showing. And yes, context matters. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt were out. The interior struggled. It's fair to be furious at how ugly the protection looked. But that's exactly where coaching gets judged. How do you keep your franchise QB alive when the house is shaking? More motion to help identify coverage. More quick game to settle the pace. More built-in answers on 3rd and long. Instead, it felt like we leaned into what we like instead of what we need just to survive. It gets even heavier because Minter's name is going to come up in head coaching interview conversations. The Ravens have already requested an interview. So the defense, your strongest unit, could get tugged by the market, while the offense is the side screaming for a reset. Harbaugh said he's going to look at everything. Alt fam wants to know, is looking enough, or are we actually going to see real change? Then came the quote that landed like a quiet bomb. Not from a TV analyst, not from an angry fan, from a Patriots player, still in that post-game mood, talking like he was just stating what happened. Robert Spillane said guys on the Chargers admitted they had no clue what New England was doing. Sit with that for a second. January, the playoffs, and the offense was lost. That's not just trash talk, that's a flashing warning sign. When an opponent is saying your offense couldn't even identify what was happening, the issue isn't only execution. It's preparation. It's the plan. It's in-game adjustment. Herbert was under siege snap after snap. Sacks piling up. A fumble. Drives dying before they ever got a pulse. And while we were all asking why nothing was flowing, the Patriots defense looked like it was always one step ahead. Disguising, confusing, waiting for the mistake. Now, blame doesn't live in one place. The line got worked. Targets didn't separate like they had to. Communication wasn't clean. You can argue Herbert and the center could have adjusted more at the line in spots. That's fair, to a degree. But when the offense looks disorganized from the first big snap to the last, It lands on the coordinator. It lands on Roman. And his playoff track record is a shadow you can't just ignore. Here's the thing. This is how locker rooms crack. Players feel it when the plan doesn't protect them. They feel it when the answers aren't there. If this doesn't change, Harbaugh risks losing trust internally, even as the guy who rebuilt the culture. Because nobody wants to walk into a playoff game feeling like they're playing uphill before kickoff. After a loss like that, the outside noise fades. All you hear is what's happening inside the building. That's when the quotes start to matter. Harbaugh talked about a new beginning. He said the ones who stay will be champions. He's framing this like it's not an end. And on paper, you can see why. 2 years ago, this was a 5-12 team with no identity. Now, it's back-to-back 11-win seasons, back-to-back playoff trips, and a defense that can actually scare people. The culture is different. That part is real. But January doesn't negotiate with speeches. January collects results. When you go out in the wildcard round 2 straight years, in a similar way, with the offense freezing up, that promise feels far away. The question isn't whether Harbaugh is the right guy. The question is whether the decisions around him are going to match the ambition. A Super Bowl promise without real adjustment becomes a nice quote and nothing more. Now to the part that decides everything. Over $100 million in cap space and a list of key free agents. Khalil Mack has a major decision. Odafe Owe is going to have a market. And other guys in that room are weighing 2 simple things. Are we actually closer to a title, or are we just close to another playoff ticket? Players stay for structure, for a plan, and for proof that January failures turned into real lessons. Same goes for outside free agents. Impact players don't join a project just because the head coach sounds confident. They join when they see a quarterback being maximized. They join when the offensive line is treated like a priority, not a patch job. They join when it's obvious the organization is willing to make tough, unpopular calls. That $100 million can remake this roster, or it can get wasted if the vision isn't sharp. And all of that brings us right back to the name carrying the weight, Justin Herbert. Every January, the conversation circles back to him, even when nobody wants it to. The hope was that this Patriots game would be the turning point, the signature performance, the moment that erased the bad memories. Instead, it might have been his toughest playoff showing yet. 159 yards, a fumble, an offense that looked like it was fighting its own reflection, and there was a point where it was only 9-3. But it still felt like we were climbing a hill with no traction. Then came the stat that explains why this debate exploded. Herbert is now the 4th quarterback since 2000 to lose his first 3 playoff starts. He's on a list with Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, and Andy Dalton. 3 very different careers. 3 possible warnings about what happens next. And we've got to be honest. Without panic, and without stamping a final label on him. Ryan became an MVP, got to a Super Bowl, and will always wear the 28-3 scar. Stafford looked stuck for years, changed environments, and won it all quickly with the Rams. Dalton had a solid career, but never got a postseason win. Herbert could be any of those paths. The talent is obvious. The arm is obvious. The leadership is there. What hasn't shown up is the right context at the right time in January, because quarterbacks don't play alone in the playoffs. Herbert was pressured like every snap was a survival drill. Protection failed fast. Routes took too long. The picture looked predictable. When the whole offense stalls, the QB becomes the easiest target for the narrative. And yes, he has to play better. He has to protect the football. He has to find answers when the plan breaks. But asking him to carry everything with no support is how you waste a window, and the league has shown that story too many times. Be honest. What's the real fix here? Is it simply Herbert has to be better? Or do the Chargers have to build an offense that actually lets him be his best when the lights are the brightest? At the end of the day, everything points to one crossroads the Chargers can't ignore anymore. This January hurt, but it also made the truth clear. The defense is ready. The talent is real. The quarterback can still write a different ending. Now, the difference between a promise and actual results is going to come down to hard decisions, not comfortable speeches. Bolt fam needs action, adjustment, courage. So I'll ask you straight. Do you believe this group is going to make the changes it has to make? Or are we stuck, watching the same cycle repeat? If you felt that, hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments. No filter.